And right now, we're joined by our friend Chris Easterling from the Akron Beacon Journal. Chris, thanks for joining us. Time is much appreciated, my friend. Let's start with Baker. Your thoughts on the return in that Baker deal for Cleveland?
I think it's about the best they could get. It really was. For all the talk, I think we've heard the last couple of weeks, we've heard mention of Seattle in some reports, but it really was always just a Carolina Panthers destination for Baker. And when you kind of got that narrow of a market, and you sort of got to take what you can get, and to get a conditional fifth round that could become a fourth rounder if Baker plays 70% of the snaps this year it's about the best the Browns could do. I think the bigger thing is the amount of his contract they had to pay. They only end up having to pay about $10.5 million of it because Baker kicked in or gave back about $3.5 million. I think that's the bigger quote unquote win maybe for the Browns.
Yep.
Just because it seemed like the only way they were really going to get this thing done for a long time was just they were going to have to eat practically all of that salary, and to only have to pay $10.5 million. And as you look at the latest NFLPA salary cap report, they've got like $42 million of cap space now available for the upcoming season, which is the most in the league. So. So in the end, I think it helps the Browns going into this season because, you mentioned Deshawn Watson. There is a question of what are they going to do depending on how long Deshawn is suspended.
Right.
And with that kind of cap space, it certainly opens up a few more options, and I'm sure we're going to talk about one of them at least.
Is the general feeling that they kind of botched the whole Baker Mayfield thing, and because it was clear by the time that they did trade him and the way things played out until then, that it was not a sustainable situation and they were going to have to get rid of him, thus driving down the price? Could they have handled this better and gotten more from Baker Mayfield and not swallowed that tough financial pill you just laid out?
I think it was a chance. The problem is I don't think there was ever a scenario where I think they were going to be willing to play Baker at quarterback in 2022 if they didn't have a better option in their pocket already. It's what is it? I'm going to botch the saying anyway, so I'll just skip over it. But they weren't going to move Baker until they knew they had a quarterback that they felt was better. And once they got Deshaun, it sort of made everything else sort of sorry, somebody was coming to the window. They could have probably, but at the end of the day, I think this is probably the best they were going to do because of just the way the whole situation transpired for them.
Right. Chris Easterling is with us here from the Akron Beacon Journal. Cattles and Ramie, Sacktown Sports 1140. Chris, Jason Lloyd wrote an article on the Baker-Kevin Stefanski relationship. Story says that Mayfield was widely viewed as childish and immature. How bad did things get between head coach and quarterback last year?
Did you watch the Pittsburgh game there? I think it was week 17 on Monday night.
Yeah, not good.
You've got a guy with a bad shoulder playing against a team. You've got one of the league's best running backs in Nick Chubb. You have another of the league's better running backs in Creed. Although I think they ruled him out for that game. Now that I think back of it, he was coming off an injury. But going against a defense that is very susceptible to the run, and you got a rookie right tackle going against one of the best pass rushers in the league in T.J. Watt, and why not? We're just going to drop Baker back and throw it 30 times. And I think that tells you all you need to know about where the relationship was between the two. They'll never come out and maybe explicitly say that, but at the same time, it was very evident just by what was going on the field with the play calling that it had really fractured between the two. And I think it's notable. On Wednesday, you had statements from Jimmy and Dee Haslam. You had a statement from Andrew Berry, general manager. There was no statement from Kevin Stefanski in the Browns statement, or Browns release on when they dealt Baker to Carolina.
Silence speaks volumes sometimes, huh?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What about the quarterback that is there now in Deshawn Watson? What's been the reaction in Cleveland to that? Obviously, raised eyebrows around the country with the baggage that he brings with him and the way that contract was structured. Are there raised eyebrows in Cleveland or more turning a blind eye?
There's a substantial number of people who just they find what Watson's accused of to be reprehensible, and it turns their stomach, and it really they have, at least on Twitter or social media, sworn off their fandom of the Browns. But there's also I think a segment of the fan base that is sort of, when it comes to pro sports, takes the cynical view of, hey, whatever it takes to win.
Right.
And I think, I wouldn't want to put a percentage on which, how much, if it's 50-50, 60-40, one way or the other. But, there are fans who are turned off by it, and there are fans who are, hey, let's just go win. He's our quarterback now. And whenever he actually gets on the field and he throws 3 touchdowns and they beat the Ravens or the Bengals or the Steelers or whomever, they're going to be cheering as loud as anybody else, because in their mind, the NFL lets them play. The NFL doesn't care about really what type of people they are. They just care about what type of player they are, and they're willing to make that deal and make that kind of moral or ethical, whatever you want, justification to cheer them on when the season comes.
Last one for you, Chris. We got about a minute here. If it's a long-term suspension for Deshaun, will they ride with Jacoby Brissett, or would they look to bring in someone like Jimmy G into the fold?
I think if it's a long-term, I think if it's anything more than 8 games, I think that they may inquire about Jimmy G. They may inquire about, a Teddy Bridgewater, who Stefanski had in Minnesota. Somebody at least who has some experience starting in the NFL, successful experience, I should say, starting in the NFL. If it's 8 or less, I think they're content. We'll go out, we'll get a solid backup, somebody who, if Brissett gets hurt, we can turn to. But at the end of the day, I think it really all just depends on what that number is for Watson.
Chris, we appreciate the time. Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Hey, thanks a lot. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. There goes Chris Easterling from the Akron Beacon Journal. Hopefully no one broke into his house. I don't know what happened there.
Somebody was banging on his window?
Somebody
Is that
was
what he
banging
said?
on the window or walking
was
by
he in the car?
So how about that, though? 8 or more games, Chris says, yeah, he could see. He could see Jimmy G be the guy that Cleveland kind of goes after to be their starting quarterback.
If I'm the Browns and